Playing TDX as a new player can be discouraging and feel inconsistent and overall unfun. Today, I want to talk about why that is and how the developers can fix this. Hello everybody, my name is Vendetta, and today we're talking a bit about the early game of Tower Defense X and why I think it's inefficient at its job, doesn't really capture how the game truly feels at especially the higher levels, and overall, being the first impression for new players, it needs to have the best face, which it does not. So, before we get into this video, if you do enjoy this, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and commenting. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I do read comments daily. All your support means so very much. Thank you very much. But now, let's get right into the video, shall we? So, the first thing I want to talk about is the tutorial of the game. TDX's tutorial is something that's fairly new, but overall, it does an amazing job at introducing the game. In the tutorial, you get access to the Ranger and the Missile Trooper, and the game displays very well of what stealth enemies, air enemies, bosses, tower death, abilities. It explains all of those very well, and it does so in a way that new players can understand fairly easily. After all, many of the things I just mentioned are core mechanics of the game, like towers dying, stealth detection is in every game mode, flying enemies. Lots of this is very vital information, and it makes sense for it to be in the tutorial nonetheless. However, the game falls off after you beat the tutorial and you move on to easy mode. So easy mode fails to meet a consistent level that the tutorial has brought the standard up to for the early game. I mean, the tutorial has background music, easy mode does not. Tutorial mode has air enemies, easy does not. And the tutorial has towers dying, easy mode does not. So I honestly think that a few things need to change around here. Easy mode should be reworked. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. They could simply update the models a little bit, nothing, overall drastic. They just need to be, modernized a little bit to fit the game better with Elite and Expert. Then they just need a few tracks. They could steal some from Elite or just reuse some overall, I guess. But for the most part, they should just make some new ones for easy mode. And then pretty much all they have to do is add air enemies just to keep consistency with the tutorial. It feels a little bit silly to teach new players about air enemies in the tutorial and then have them not appear until Elite mode. At that point, why introduce the air enemies at all? So I think there should be air enemies in easy mode. But Vendetta, easy mode's the first game mode and new players only have Ranger. What are they gonna do? Well, I'm glad you asked, my good friend. So easy mode overall wouldn't have that many air enemies. It simply would just be enough to get your health low. That's right, so air enemies alone wouldn't be enough to kill you. They just simply wouldn't have enough health. However, they would bring the player's base health down very low just to show that you do need to be careful. This still affects the game as well, as if they have taken damage already, or if they do take damage after that, they will end the game. And how they counter this is by beating the tutorial, players should get Missile Trooper for free. If you asked me about a year ago, I would have said it was probably fine for players to start with just Ranger, but with how different the game has gotten, and how many different towers there are now, and how many unique enemies, it feels like players should actually start with Missile Trooper. Players should actually get Missile Trooper as a reward for completing the tutorial. It makes sense because the Missile Trooper is in the tutorial, so why give it to the players in the tutorial just to have it taken away from them right when they go to play their first easy game? And if players skip the tutorial, well, like I said, the air enemies wouldn't be an issue, as they would only come late game and would only be enough to get you low health. Therefore, if the player didn't completely fumble the entire game, then they would still be able to beat it without any worries. I'm not 100% solidified on that easy rework, so let me know what you think in the comments about it. There could definitely be some better ideas. I kind of just scrapped that together. I just think it should be a little bit more consistent with the tutorial. Overall, I would be happy with anything as long as it just matches the standard that Elite and Expert have brought, with background music and just overall making the game feel a bit more fun. As for Intermediate isn't as desperate in need of a change, but I do think it does need a change as well. There are a few major issues with Intermediate. The first major issue is obviously it's outdated, doesn't feel anything similar to Elite or Expert now. The second issue is the jump between intermediate and elite. Before, the jump between intermediate and elite was almost just underwhelming. It didn't really feel impactful, as intermediate almost felt harder than elite at times. But with how difficult elite has actually gotten, it almost feels like the gap is too far now. So I think it should be a little bit more difficult, kind of finding its nice place between easy and elite perfectly. Its third issue is that it does have such a short time between the Predator wave and the Eradicator wave, so I do think intermediate should get a little bit of a rework as well. Like I said, just like easy, doesn't have to be a crazy rework, just has to be enough to make it feel like it's on par in terms of quality when it comes to elite and expert. So maybe brush up the enemy models a little bit, add some background music in there, make the waves a little bit more interesting. And overall, I think intermediate could be a good mode. It just is a little bit too far away from elite for now. So I think it just needs to offer a bit more and be a bit harder, because for right now, it's too easy to move from easy mode to intermediate mode. With these simple reworks to easy and intermediate, they could come out together in the same update, and I feel like this would just make it so it's a lot easier for new players to find enjoyment in the early stages of Tower Defense X. I personally feel that majority of TDX's player base is just high-level players or people who have been playing for a while, and it lacks newer players, and the reason that is because TDX gets better as it goes on. As a new player, it's not very great, but as you start leveling up and unlocking things and getting to higher end modes, the game gets to be really fun. However, it's kind of difficult for people to know that when all they see when they start is just what easy and intermediate are now. They're not very fun. They don't really match the quality of what the game truly has to offer later on. It's like that one meme of the guy digging in the cave and he stops right before hitting the diamonds. Yeah, it's basically that. So if TDX wants to gain lots of new players and keep them entertained, keep them hooked, and bring them into the game more, they should really focus on their early game, make it more fun, make it more entertaining. I'm not asking for anything huge like the expert rework, the elite rework, nothing crazy, just something to bring it up to the standards that they have brought, just something to make it feel like they fit in a bit more so that there's less of a divide between old modes and new modes. That is going to be all for today's video. I know it's probably going to be a pretty short one, but thank you all for watching regardless. Stay tuned, as I plan on making a sort of part 2 to this video. I decided to split it into two kind of parts. The second part will talk a bit more about the tower side of progression rather than the actual gameplay itself. So if you do want to see that, that video should be up in a couple of days. Also catch tomorrow's live stream where I will be doing some metal grinding. But like I said, that's going to be all for tonight's video, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do consider leaving a like, subscribing, and commenting. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subs, and I do read all your comments every day. But that is all for now. We'll catch you next time on the TDX channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and bye-bye!